You said yourself, 40% liberal. What were your numbers?
15% liberal.
15.
35% moderate, 40% conservative. What you're going to send is moderates and conservatives. And what we found, we've had over 50,000 people that have completed this questionnaire. And you have a hard time really distinguishing between a moderate and a conservative, with the exception of a few core issues. You kind of get down to the abortion issue and some of the gun issues, and maybe some of the God issues, I would say. But there's not that much difference. And we see this over and over. The people that are participating in these mock sessions where they're going around and seeing how the process works, they walk in thinking exactly what you're saying, and they walk away understanding that it's an issue by issue thing. You can't lump everybody into this moderate bucket or liberal bucket or conservative bucket. You need to do it issue by issue. Are they, I could sit here and say, hey, I'm liberal on the environment, but I'm conservative on spending. Well, am I a moderate or a liberal or a conservative, right?
But the question becomes, how do you protect the environment without spending money?
Okay, but exactly. So let's put qualified and competent men and women in there that can study those issues, that don't have all the baggage about worrying about how do I do what you just said, but at the same time appeasing my political party and ensuring that I'm going to get reelected. Go up there and do what you believe in and do what's right for your district, and we'll let everything else take care of itself. We don't need career politicians. There's not a person in office that's any more intelligent than you or the viewers that are out there, right? Normal, everyday men and women that rise to the top of the system, they can go and represent us. And I think that's what the people are saying, and that's why they're rallying across GOOH all across the nation.
It occurs to me that charitable people that are skeptical of your approach might say, great intentions, but look out for the consequences. Is that fair at all? Now, this is untested stuff.
Certainly. I always say, I never fear a ghost, right? So it's like when you start a new business or a new company, you go and you do the best thing that you know, and you kind of push this forward. What are the repercussions, right? The worst thing that could happen is we put 435 yahoos like you and me up there. Can we do any worse than what the folks up there that are doing? Could we possibly spend any more money? Could we possibly cause the Postal Service to lose more money or more people to come into our country illegally? There's no way that we could make it any worse. But I would argue that if anybody will go through this mock selection session and experience how the process works and all the materials up on our website where they can download and try it themselves, what they'll find is we will pick superb candidates that will go up there unencumbered by parties and money and a career aspiration.
What keeps them from going up there and saying, whoa, I like this office. I believe I'll stay for a while.
When you come to GOOH, you've agreed to vote for amending the Constitution for term limits for the House. Right? So what we're saying is, let's get folks in and let's try to fulfill that contract with America when the people said we want term limits. And if you look at every piece of polling information out there, the people want term limits, particularly if it's applied across the board. They don't want term limits just for their state and not the other. Right? That's foolish, because now if my folks go in and they got to come out, but Californians don't, well then California would own all the committee seats and what have you. That's not what the people want. The people want term limits equally across the board. So with GOOH, that's the only plank in our platform, right? We don't lean left or right on any issue. All we say is you must agree to support term limits.
And also you must agree to vote the way you said you were going to vote, in a general sense.
Yeah.
Otherwise, 72 hours later, you better have resigned.
That's right.
And what if you don't?
So we believe it's a legally binding contract. It will hold up in court, but let's say that it doesn't. Good luck trying to get reelected the next time, because now you put your positions in writing and you went up there and you've broken your oath to the people. I don't think they're going to support you a second time through the GOOH system, and you're not a part of any party that's going to run you through because you're the good old boy in the system. You'll be out on your own.
But let's take the marijuana thing. I said I would vote against legalizing marijuana. I get up there, a medical marijuana bill comes up. Well, okay, for that, I'm going to vote yes. Yeah. Now you got an opponent that says, whoa, wait a minute. You said you wouldn't support legalization of marijuana.
Yeah. So the GOOH system on each one of those issues, what we'll do, right, is when the bill comes through, we'll say, does this a match to one of your questions? And in that case, we'd say that's not a match. I mean, that's different. And we really believe that almost every bill that comes through is going to be different. Right? The intention of the questionnaire is not to say this is the bill that's going to come, you have to vote that way. It's really to help your peers determine would they vote for you to represent them.
Well, then they could say, well, he said he was going to vote against marijuana. He voted for it, but it was a technicality. We'll let it slide.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I think we'll be more rigorous than that. But think about this. Where does your congressman stand on any of those 100 issues? You don't have a clue, right? You can guess, but you don't know. We're going to try to take a step forward. We're not saying the system's perfect. I mean, no system's perfect. I built systems all my life. What we're trying to do is improve the process and find a way to elect true citizen representatives. And we think those questions and getting your platform in writing before we send you up there is a much, much better way to do it than what we do now, which is they tell Group A, oh yeah, I'm for abortion, and then they tell Group B, well, I'm kind of for it, and then they tell Group C, well, depending on the circumstances, I'd vote this way. We're going to try to improve that process, but we're not going to perfect it.
All right, last question. We do not have, historically, it has not been interpreted as a pure direct democracy in this country. We have a republic, a representative democracy, which implies that the representatives in Congress will vote their constituents' wishes, but it also allows for them to exercise leadership. To get up there, go to committee hearings, hear testimony, talk to people that they didn't have an opportunity to talk to before they got up there, and lo and behold, they go, whoa, I need to expand my thinking on this. And in the process of doing that, I need to go back to my district and lead my constituents.
Absolutely.
If you have a contract that binds you to a certain way of behaving when it comes to vote getting or casting in the Congress, where does that leadership role go?
So we have what's called the override clause. If it's an issue that was documented in the questionnaire, you can change your vote whenever you want to, as long as the members of your district agree. But what we're not going to do is have you get elected because you promised you'd go in on term limits, and then you get in there and unilaterally decide, oh, I don't want term limits now. I'm in power. I can do better for my district. I kind of like it here, and I like the pay and the perks. So if it's one of the questions, you must go back and ask the members of your district, the GO members, to approve you changing your vote. They put you in. Just say, hey, I said I was going to vote for the fair tax. I got up here, and now I understand why that's such a terrible thing to do. Do I have your permission to change my mind? And you can lay out your arguments however you want to. And if they say yes, then change your mind.
You would do that on the internet.
Yeah, yeah. So, think about like this healthcare bill. Think of how easy it would be for every member of Congress to go to their own website and say, hey, members, what do you think on this healthcare bill? Why do they not even ask that question? We could give them the software to do that online poll tomorrow. They don't do it because they don't want to know. It might not fit with the way they're told to vote.
But what happens if they do go to the people through the internet and say, endorse my new way of thinking on this, and you have lobby groups, special interests, who suddenly start pouring all kinds of money into issue ads? Don't let them do it, or by all means, make them do it. And are you not right back where you started from, with money fueling the argument?
Well, so I think the money will always be there to try to educate, but ultimately it's up to you and I, right? It's up to the viewers to be educated and to vote, right? Those people up there in this republic, they represent us, and they need to do what we need them to do. So granted, we're not going to come back with every single bill and say, hey, can I vote here, can I vote there? But on the core issues, right, if you're going to try to nationalize healthcare or change the tax system, right, or a balanced budget amendment, get the input of your people and let them know. And sure, the lobbyists are going to tell you information one way or the other, but the people have to decide. Ultimately, it's up to us. And we need representatives that will represent us, not ones that will represent the special interest money, and not ones that will represent the political parties, and not ones that are worried about their career. They need to be listening to the people, and only the people. That's who they represent.